So I would just like to start by introducing Marc Burman. Marc is a certified financial planner. So Marc, welcome. And I'm actually just going to hand straight back to you just to maybe introduce us a little bit to yourself and the topic for today.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Alka, for inviting me along today. So what we're going to be talking about is quite simply getting financially organised and what that means, and also going to be sharing a few tips with you as to how you can do that. So this is myself and a brief outline of who I am and what I do. So I'm a certified financial planner, level 6 advisor, which is the highest level of qualification you can achieve as a financial advisor, and I'm a member of the Society in Trust and Estate Planning, so I can assist with inheritance tax and estate planning generally. And just to cap that off, I'm also a non-practicing solicitor. So what I would like to cover off today is the best way to get financially organised, how you can get rid of these old expensive products and policies, to have a visual on your finances, and also how you can help, how you can make financial decisions with confidence. So the first area is getting rid of expensive policies.
Right, that's really interesting actually, Marc. So I guess my question, just looking at that slide, is why do we want to get rid of old policies? Surely these are things that we want to sort of accrue over time.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because over time, people tend to acquire different policies and investments. They could have been reading the Sunday papers and seeing the latest share tips. They may have been speaking to their pals down the pub and, I've got this investment or that investment. And over the years, people tend to accumulate these investments, and sometimes they forget about them. There could be some type of duplication with products and policies, and they actually may no longer be suitable for the original purpose. So what I just wanted to show you is this tends to come about really as we advance through our careers and we have a look at all the different sources of income that could be available. So, there could be employment income, some dividends, pensions, ISAs, you could have some cash reserves, property income, general investments, EISs, VCTs, and bonds and state pensions as well. And what's interesting is when you combine that with the different stages in life, so that could be money coming into your life or coming out, or expenses or different costs. So some good things, some bad things. What we tend to find is we acquire what I call the man drawer of financial products. So we can thank Michael McIntyre for this sketch. And this is what a lot of people tend to have acquired.
Well, I can definitely resonate with that, except I've got a woman drawer, Marc, and it's actually a sort of a little suitcase full of policies, as you just said. And some of them I know go all the way back to my sort of med school days, really.
Yes. Well, it's funny because, when you acquire those things, they may have been fit for purpose and may have been appropriate for you at the time of buying them. But we need to check they're still fit for purpose. And, they could be also costing you money. And we don't know effectively whether they still work or not. And that's what we need to find out. So in organising your finances, I would say step one is to understand what you already have. Now, not to state the obvious, but the first point is really to collect all the paperwork and get it all together in one place. Now, what that means for some people is, particularly with pensions, perhaps even taking them out of the envelope and taking them out of the drawer that they've been filed in. Now,
I'm one of those people, Marc. I do not like taking anything that looks like it's come from the tax man, or that's got the word pension on the front of the envelope. I just sort of put it in my little drawer of finances, and it sort of seems to stay that. So, yeah, I can definitely resonate with that.
I mean, I think with some people, part of it is they don't quite understand what's in there, and it's quite easy to put to one side. But here's the thing, of course, this is a source of income in retirement, and it's really important to get a handle on this. So you need to know what you need to be doing today to to get that income that you want in retirement. So it's useful to grasp the nettle, if you like, moving forward. But again, arrange all this paperwork in date order so you know what the latest transfer value or amount of the investment is. What's interesting is if you think that you've had a previous job and they've given you a pension, you can't quite trace it. A really useful resource is the gov.uk website, and it's under Find My Pension. So I've just got the link here. Find pension contracts.service.gov.uk, and that will assist you in sourcing any old pensions that you might have in the background.
That actually does sound like a really good resource. Actually, I didn't even know that existed. And again, I probably fall into these categories because over time, when I've had sort of odd salary job, and you find yourself you've signed up to some pension scheme that you don't really know what happens, how it expires, how it runs. You leave that job, but the last thing I kind of think about is what's happened to that pension. So if I go on that website, I'd probably find all my information there, would I?
Yeah, so you need to plug in certain details, but it will show you how you can obtain details. I mean, I've had a few clients who've had a couple of windfalls from it, a couple of pensions they weren't aware of. And if you think about it, the average UK employee has 11 jobs throughout their working career. So there is a good chance that if you've had a number of jobs throughout your career, you may have some pensions that you've forgotten about. So worth having a look at. Okay, so the next thing is, I'm tailoring this slightly more towards pensions, but are they still fit for their purpose? So with pensions, you might want to check whether an old style pre-2015 pension.
What's the relevance of that, Mark, the 2015?
Okay, so in 2015, we had what we call the pension freedoms came into effect. So there's quite a lot of publicity about this. So essentially, pensions were given a lot more flexibility. So the old style pensions, as I class them, with the pre-2015 pensions, were very rigid in what you could do with your pension. So when you reached pension age, they would give you an income for life, like an old annuity, and they were very inflexible. So you could either have some cash as a lump sum, or an income, or a combination of both. Now, post 2015, when the pension freedoms came into play, you could have what we call flexi access drawdown. You could take the full amount out if you wanted to. You could take an income. You could take sporadic payments. And it really is a lot more flexible to fit in with your circumstances. That's why we make a distinction between the pre and post 2015 pensions. So other things to think about and to consider with your existing pensions are what level of risk are you taking? Now, what that means is what level of or what percentage of the holding within your pension is held in shares. So quite simply, the more shares that you have in your pension, the higher risk you'll be taking. And that means there'll be more volatility within your pension itself. The other consideration is what's the cost? Now, not many people are aware of this, or a number of people are unaware of this, that when you are in a pension, even an old frozen pension, there are actually charges within that pension scheme. So there'll be annual management charges, custodian charges, transaction charges, and it's really important to keep an eye on what they are charging you, because the older pensions tend to be slightly more expensive. So that's one thing to watch out for. And the other thing is, are there any guarantees? So before doing anything with any old pensions, check whether they've given you any guaranteed income, guaranteed rates, because it's important that they are not lost if you're considering transferring those pensions. So step 3 is considering whether a number of old investments or pensions can be consolidated. Now, what we sometimes do is recommend putting pensions or investments on a platform.
What is that, Mark? Platform? I've not come across that before.
Yep, so a platform is essentially a little bit like if you have online banking and you may have a couple of different accounts. You might have your current account, you might have a savings account, you might have an investment account. It's effectively putting everything in one place, so you've got a visual on all your finances. It also, once you're on the platform, you can have access to thousands of different other funds and investments should you wish to make other investments alongside those. So it's just a nice, neat way of holding your investment so you know where you stand financially. Okay, so the next thing is we want to establish where you are now, which we should have done at this point. So you've got an idea of what finances you have in order at the moment. Stage 2 are, what are the life events that require time and money that you want to achieve? And number 3 is, what action do you need to take now in order to allow you to achieve your objectives? So let me just move through the slides here. Now, what I wanted to mention is a good analogy is when you go on an airplane, you're going on a journey, and it's very similar to the way we operate our financial planning methodology. You're setting off on a journey, and you know where your current location is. You know where you want to go. You know where you want to arrive. They're your financial objectives. And along the journey, you would need to check in. You need to review your progress and make sure that you're on course in meeting those objectives. And each time, you need to recalibrate. So during the journey, you need to recalibrate and make sure that you're on track. Okay. Now, part of that journey is, as I say, calibrating and making sure that you're on track. Now, part of that journey could be taken care of by an autopilot, but part of the journey should also be combined with human skill. And what we say is that when we are looking at the finances, it's important to use what we call the flight navigation system for our finances, so to speak. So
I like that idea.
Yeah. So there is something similar that we use, when we're looking at financial planning, and that's something I'm just going to share with you at the moment. So the human, or our version of the financial planning sat nav for clients is, just share this with you. So this is the software that we use. This is called Lifestyle Financial Planning. And in effect, this is what we do for a number of our clients. So I'm going to give you a very high level view of what we do at this point. So in effect, we've got a client who's in his 30s, and this is the timeline. So this is the age of the client as he gets older. And each of these events are things the client would like to happen. So these are various different destinations the client would like to achieve. Now, what we do is I effectively show the client, based on certain assumptions, what's going to happen to his or her finances for the rest of his life. So in effect, we put this into a chart, and again, keeping it quite high level, each of these spikes here in this plan is a cost, some form of cost to the client. Okay, it's important that we find the funding to meet each of these costs. Now, again, quite simply, the chart is made of two colors, red and blue. So blue means that the client is meeting his financial objectives. It means that he can afford to do the things he wants to do. The red means the shortfall. The red means the client's unable to do these things. So in effect, it's my job to put in place various different financial strategies to make sure the client can meet his objectives moving forward. Now, those financial strategies might be reviewing his existing pensions, investments, add those financial investments. It might be switching things around, buying a rental property, selling a rental property. It could be anything. The key is we've got to get rid of all of that red from the plan. And that's effectively what I do. I give the client financial strategies at this point here to make sure that he can meet his financial objectives moving forward.
What about, Mark, life events? Is there a space for that on this model? Because, life is predictable to a degree, but also largely unpredictable. I mean, we're in the midst of COVID at the moment. There'd been no predictability to that, and people's finances are being affected. So is this a platform that you can put in sort of unpredictable events as well as the things you want to plan for?
Absolutely. What's really what's great about this type of software that we use as a tool is that everything is interactive and everything is changeable. So, for example, this particular client wants to work till age 55, and then he wants to go part-time till 60, and then at 60 he wants to fully retire. We could actually model what will happen if he works a little bit later, and how does that impact upon the plan. Or, here he's saving it for certain events. What happens if we move those around, and how will that impact upon the plan? And everything is changeable. So in effect, what this is doing is it's giving us a visual on our finances so that we can make our financial decisions with confidence moving forward. And what's interesting is with clients, they might call up in the middle of the year and say, actually, Mark, I'm thinking about, for example, buying a rental property, or I'm thinking about making this financial decision. How will that impact upon my plan? And I can incorporate that into their plan and show them how that will affect things and whether it will reduce or increase the amount of red in their plan. So that is just one of the tools that I use moving forward.
That's really useful, Mark. I think having the visual on it is really helpful. The fact that you can sort of model this and adapt it to life events as well, and the changeability in that is really useful. I do really like the visual element of it a lot. Is this quite a commonly used tool? Is this something that sort of most planners like you would be using?
So it's probably worth making a distinction between financial advisors and financial planners, because your financial advisors will be more product driven. They'll be more interested in putting forward a new pension or a new ISA, whereas planners are more objective based. So they'll go through the process that I've just mentioned to you. So it comes down to really when you're choosing someone to help you with this, I would be looking, say, more for a financial planner rather than a financial independent financial advisor. And again, they should be wholly independent. They should be fully regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority and fully qualified to provide this type of advice, ideally with a level 6 qualification. I mean, to me, this is what we call proper financial planning. And this is what really adds value to clients moving forward.
Thank you, Mark. I think that's really useful to know. Sometimes it's really sort of difficult to navigate the financial landscape, know whose sort of advice is credible or useful. So I think that sort of little checklist of who to look out for is really helpful. So thank you for that. There may be people who've got additional questions. Is it easy for people to get in touch with you if there's anything they want to ask you at all?
Yeah, so these are some of the ways that I can be contacted. I would recommend going to marcburman.com, which is my website, and on there's a full interactive plan being laid out in real time, so it's useful to look at, and also a number of useful articles. And what I like to do, if I may, is just wrap up with a point, because I'm fully regulated by the FCA. It's important to point out that any advice or any information I'm providing today isn't personalised advice. And if you do want personalised advice, speak to either myself or a regulated financial advisor.
So Mark, thank you for that. That was hugely useful and really great to get that visual as well. But if people did want to find out a little bit more, I recognise that sort of all of this needs to be personalised. Is there any way they can ask you a few questions or get in touch?
Yep, so my contact details should be here up on the screen. So a really good resource would be marcburman.com, which is my website. Some good resources on there. There's actually a live simulation of the financial planning that I did just a moment ago. And just wanted to point out, as I'm fully regulated, I need to mention that anything that I've talked about today, it's not personalised advice. And if you do want personalised advice, it's important that you speak to a financial advisor like myself, who can give you specific tailored advice for your circumstances.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mark. Really helpful and some really sort of valuable tips and insights there. So really appreciate you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.